Hello and welcome everyone back to our 6-week Skillful Living program. My name is Venerable Tarpa. This is our second week and our fourth class of the program. In today's class, we're going to be discussing cultivating happiness. But first, let's briefly review what we learned in yesterday's class. Remember, Sundays are study classes in which we learn about the topic for the week, which is happiness. And then today on a Monday, our study classes, our practice classes, in which we go over the practices that we'll all be practicing together throughout the week. And again, these are related to cultivating happiness. So in yesterday's class, we learned about happiness and that in the Buddhist context, it's closely related to satisfaction and contentment. We also learned that beyond happiness and contentment lies unconditional joy and bliss, a type of joy that arises from persistent, committed practice, producing inner feelings of extreme well being. Does anyone have any questions about yesterday's class on our topic of happiness? Yeah, I think we covered it pretty good yesterday. Are you starting to understand and appreciate happiness in a new light? Yesterday, we bracketed happiness, which is one of the things we like to do in the program, and asking you to re-examine it and try to see it for what it truly is, its true nature. Is that starting to happen? Are you guys starting to get a more expansive view of happiness? Yeah, that's my hope. Good. All right. Good, good, good. Um, are you excited about learning how to cultivate happiness this week? Me too. Wonderful. This is a cool class, one of my favorites to teach. I'm going to get right into it. So today we're going to put into practice what we shared yesterday, and we're going to learn how to cultivate happiness. Within Buddhism, the path to happiness, and in Buddhism, ultimate happiness is called awakening, nirvana, enlightenment. And they're all cultivated through the Buddhist threefold training, the development of higher understanding, higher virtue, and higher awareness. And I have a whole bunch of slides for today. The threefold training is the Buddhist path itself. And it consists of the development of higher understanding, the wisdom aspect of the path pertaining to the development of insight and understanding of the Buddha's teachings and the nature of ourselves and reality. These are kind of textbook definitions. Number two is the development of higher virtue, the ethical aspect of the path pertaining to holy vows, cultivating benevolent qualities, basic goodness, and awakened behavior. And the third is the development of higher awareness, the practice aspect of the path pertaining to the development of higher mental and meditative states. We learned and began developing higher virtue. Oh, I forgot. Let me show you one more thing here. I have a second slide for you. So the threefold training is easy to remember, and it's symbolized by a triangle. Virtue is always considered the foundation of the Buddhist path. So virtue's on the bottom with understanding and awareness on each side. The threefold training is symbolized by a triangle, which signifies the crucial inner relationship of these three aspects for attaining our spiritual aim. So these three are considered holistic in the fact that they all benefit one another. Okay, had to get that out of the way. Um, so as far as the three go, we learned and began developing higher virtue in last week's class, of course, right? by clearly understanding what aspects of our lives are to be cultivated and which are to be abandoned, right? Learning basic right and wrong in a Buddhist context, or skillful and unskillful is one of my favorite expressions of that. Um, and developing higher virtue uh, then benefits us by it simplifies our lives. I can admit, as a monk, it creates harmony in our lives while serving as a proper direction towards happiness, satisfaction, and awakening. It also makes us more likable, right? It makes us more lovable, so life is better. Um, our second quality, the development of higher understanding, uh, which is what we cultivate through the three great objectives. This is a term in Buddhism, the three great objectives, and which consists of study, contemplation, and meditation. Study includes things like teaching, taking classes, reading books, but equally important, if not more important, is our real world experience and the knowledge we get just from living life and living an examined life, right? So study is both classroom and also just real life experience. Once we have a basic understanding of what we've studied, we then bring that into contemplation, the second of the three great objectives, which means to reflect, ponder, or think about what we've studied, right? And then uh, contemplation takes that raw knowledge that we gain through study and clarifies it and simplifies it, thereby distilling that knowledge into wisdom. So I think about contemplation. Say I read a good book, I watch a video, a teaching on YouTube, and contemplation comes in where I grab a cup of coffee or tea and sit in my favorite chair and just ponder, now what exactly did I just study? What does that mean to me? And there's a synthesis that happens, right? A refinement of that. And in a sense, we simplify it for ourselves. And that's where contemplation comes in. Um, and then lastly, we bring that contemplated wisdom to our insight meditation in order to gain an even greater level of clarity, insight, and understanding. So that's the three-part series on how we engage with study in Buddhism, right? Study, contemplation, and then meditation. Within Buddhism, the most important aspect of working with our minds and our path is our view, defined as our perspective or our mental orientation towards life. And this includes our perceptions and beliefs, values, goals, our hopes and fears. And it's through this that we establish our model of reality, through which we interpret, understand, and engage with life, right? The way you see life is your personal reality. In Buddhism, this proper perspective is referred to as right view, defined as the correct perspective or understanding of the true nature of oneself and reality. For those of us that are Buddhist practitioners, this means having an accurate understanding of the Buddhist teachings and his model of reality. The way higher understanding benefits us is that through understanding ourselves and our existence, uh, understanding who and what we are, how life works, how to interact properly and effectively with others, how to engage properly with our environment. Through that knowledge, we simply make better decisions about life, right? And we clearly and accurately understand the direction towards happiness, satisfaction, and awakening. The more we understand life, the better we engage with it, and uh, the more skillful we are, and more productive we are. Makes sense, right? And then, oh, and then we have the development of higher awareness, which is our third aspect of the threefold training, which we cultivate through the practice of meditation and mindfulness, and also some other various practices. And these are all aimed at gaining mastery over our awareness and our ability to gather, harness, and sustain our often scattered and fragmented awareness or consciousness. The way higher awareness benefits us is through our ability, uh, it's through our ability to sustain our conscious awareness that we're able to engage wholeheartedly with our virtuous qualities. So, meaning, um, one part of awareness, like in meditation, is learning how to focus our attention, to hold our attention, to be more actively engaged and aware of our environment, but it also has a lot to do with sustaining these qualities. And not just that, but sustaining virtuous qualities and sustaining virtuous or skillful emotions. So we all do this right now. And patience is a great example. Patience itself isn't just putting up with challenges or people. It's we have to sustain that patience, right? It's a question of being able to hold that, especially for parents. Parents learn how to sustain a level of patience when working with their kids. And it's astounding to me how parents can sustain it for a very long time. Almost they're just numb to it. They don't even hear the kids after a while. They're there. They're intent. They're watching the children. They're involved, but they have this level of patience that's just quite startling. But think about it. We need to sustain virtue, right? We don't want to just be virtue for 5 minutes and then go back to the way we feel. So sustaining our virtuous, skillful qualities is a huge part of higher awareness. At higher levels of meditation, we're able to sustain our mindfulness practice and higher states of meditation, higher states of mind. And it's a huge part of practice is practicing, sustaining elevated states of mind and emotion. Our first aim in developing higher awareness is the development of presence. Many of you learned about presence in our Introduction to Meditation program. Briefly, presence is defined as a state or quality of mind that is fully aware and engaged in the present moment, in the here and now, without being lost in thought. It's a focused state of, again, sustained conscious awareness, of reduced mental commentary, interpretation, and reactive judgment. Presence is a way of being that is fully that fully accepts the present moment just as it is, a state of mind free of mental distraction. It's a shift in perception in which we become the observing witness to the present moment. A shift of mind, shifting from the doing mind to the observing mind, without the mind getting lost in thinking about the past or future. So, I have a fun exercise to share with you uh, for demonstrating how to engage in presence. So, this is very simple. Let's begin right where you are. Let's close our eyes, begin to relax, and take a few conscious breaths. Now bring all your attention fully to the inflow and outflow of your breath, either at the chest, stomach, or just below the nostrils. But I want you to really put some effort in and fully focus on that. Now, you may notice that while directing your attention fully on the breath, that there's a momentary pause in the thinking process. That for a moment, your concerns of the past and worries of the future are suspended. Let's try it again. Ready? Let's focus deeply on the breath. Focus. You notice that pause? And it lasts a moment, right? Notice how fully conscious and present you are in this state. And that while focusing on the breath, the mind can't be anywhere else. Your mind is fully anchored in the present moment. Now, it doesn't last very long, but with practice, it can. And it can last very long. Okay, now you can open up your eyes and come back. Again, this is just a simple surface level example of presence. So now that we know what the threefold training is, the next step is learning to practice it. And I have good news for all of you. Guess what? You're already doing it. What? That's right. The threefold training. You're doing this right now, right? You've been doing it this week. What, number one, the development of higher understanding, the three great objectives. You've been coming to study classes, practice classes. We've been contemplating all these things. We've been meditating. Number two, the development of higher virtue. That was last week. Basic goodness, morning affirmations, cultivating the 10 virtuous acts. And number three, the development of higher awareness. This is your current meditation, mindfulness practices, and the cultivation of presence and stillness, right? Which is that state we're working towards in meditation. So, hallelujah. What do you think of that? You're already practicing it. And again, I'd like to repeat the threefold training is the Buddhist path. Buddhism seems really complex, doesn't it? There's so many teachings and so many views and opinions and practices, but they all are contained within the threefold training. Every single one of them. Nothing in Buddhism exists outside of these three categories. Isn't that extraordinary? So when people say, "Oh, Buddhism, it sounds complex," blah, blah, blah. Buddhism's easy. It's the development of higher understanding, higher virtue, higher awareness. How difficult is that? Right? But it's true. It really is that easy. I mean, we tend to complicate things, but it really is that easy. And to me, looking at it in a simpler way like that makes it more accessible, right? Does anybody have any questions? What did you think about this threefold path, the threefold training? Can anybody list the three? Number one, who is paying attention? Come on.
The development of higher understanding.
Oh, number two, somebody's reading from their notes.
Virtue.
Number three, awareness. I gotta get some new students. That's right. Any questions about the three? What do you guys think? Do you understand the principle? How about the principle of right view? That's something we're sharing for the first time. The whole Skillful Living program is focused on this idea of right view. Well, right view is the culmination of the first, the development of higher understanding. But everything we learn is going to be related to that, right? Do you understand how right view is like your mental orientation, right? It's what you think life is. When you open up your eyes and you look around, your hopes, your fears, your beliefs, religious beliefs, spiritual beliefs, ideologies, whatever, the way you think life is, that is your reality, right? Not our reality, but it's yours. We all have a unique reality. Well, that orientation, we call that right view. Clint?
Yeah, I think the point about right view that confuses me sometimes is right according to the Buddha, right according to traditional Buddhist teachings, right according to my understanding, right? Because you could take a very non-secular view of that when, I grew up Catholic, right? So if you tell me right view, I think I have to be compliant and believe what I'm supposed to be believing, which is not the Buddhist way of looking at it, right? So I think that's where that term gets confusing to me is it implies I have to believe in all the things, which is not exactly a secular Buddhist way of seeing it. If that makes sense.
Yes, and many people follow that interpretation. Oftentimes, the word right, because we have it here in right view, we also have it in the Eightfold Path, right?
Okay.
Right. Well, first one is right view, right attention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. So, and a lot of people feel that way as well. Now, traditional Buddhists would say that right view is the ultimate true view of reality, that the Buddhists shared the one and only view. I think that's a very religious statement. And I don't think the Buddha makes it sound that way. With the Buddha, it's more, the analogy the Buddha gives about his teachings are a raft that's used to cross to the other shore of enlightenment. And so the Buddha gives the idea that he's not so interested in teaching some ultimate view of the way things are. He's interested in sharing a view that'll be beneficial for you to awaken with, right? So he's not interested in creating the other shore. He's just trying to create a good raft that'll take you there. And that's the way I see it as well. In fact, a secular view, I think we would say skillful would be a good word for that. Skillful view, right? Productive view is another good one. But according to Buddhists, right view specifically pertains to the Four Noble Truths. So there's a lot of different views on what right view means. I would say productive orientation, skillful understanding, right? Of it. I'd never take it as I don't really believe in ultimate truth. I don't. I think there is some kind of ultimate way the universe exists, but humans' ability to understand that kind of a truth, I don't think is we're capable of it, right? I don't think we're
Yeah,
capable of ultimate truth. So yeah, take it the way you want to. It's a Buddhist term that they say right view, so I left it with that.
that's helpful. Thank you.
Labdrung?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that yes, skillful, yeah, is the one that's very very helpful to me to use.
A lot of modern
Skillful
translators
skillful means.
a lot of modern translators are using it more and more and not just out of convenience but believing that it's closer to what the Buddha really meant, like the 10 virtuous and non-virtuous actions. Nowadays great translators like Bhikkhu Bodhi think skillful would probably be a more accurate term, as well as the term wisdom. A lot of modern translators are thinking understanding is much closer to what the Buddha was talking about. So, yeah, we have a lot of fun with language, right? All these terms. Hey, that's cool. So, hey, let's move on to the next. So, in order to develop happiness, besides following the threefold path, and one of the great things about the threefold path is that There's a lot of band-aids out there for happiness, right? People telling us to do certain things. Make your bed every morning when you wake up, it'll make you happy. And they have a list of things to do. But the threefold path is different. The threefold path is like a surgeon compared to a band-aid. The threefold path works at the deepest roots of the problems of our lives, of our suffering, that which stops us from achieving happiness. So there is no deeper going than implementing the threefold path in your lives. It's a deeper, slower, gradual process, but ultimately delivers the greatest of all happinesses. But besides that, we do need some band-aids nowadays, or some simpler methods for dealing with adversities, challenges, and problems. And for this, we offer an SBT practice called the Four Steps of Acceptance. This practice is made up of three skills that come together to form a method for dealing with life's daily challenges. I'm sure you have them just like I do. The three are the skills of presence, acceptance, and reasoning. The first skill of presence we just shared, to be fully aware and engaged in the present moment. The second skill is acceptance, which is aimed at experiencing our lives and reality as they truly are without rejecting or exaggeration, right? Rejecting and living in denial, we know, but exaggeration is something we don't realize how much we exaggerate or dramatize our lives, right? We bring all this drama into our lives. But the idea of accepting it without those things, accepting our experiences unconditionally, both our sufferings and our joy. We might not like our suffering, but in Buddhism, we accept it and we learn from it and learn to transcend it. But not not living in fantasy, delusion, or a state of denial. They often say that Buddhism isn't about delusion. It's not about entering a state of delusion. It's trying to escape all forms of delusion, not trading one for another. It's important to keep in mind that acceptance isn't resignation or giving up. This is a common feeling. On the contrary, by maturely acknowledging and accepting reality, we gain an unparalleled advantage in resolving problems, determining productive actions, and achieving fruitful results. So, our third skill is that of reasoning, which we use to assess situations, experiences, and our feelings about those experiences, to understand them logically and rationally. So let's take a deeper look at this, and let me show this. Oh, I think I got a slide here for you. So this is the four steps of acceptance. Number one, presence. Presence, becoming present and non-reactive by focusing on your breath. Number two, acceptance, acknowledging and accepting the reality of the situation. Number three, reasoning, assessing the situation, your feelings, and the best way for dealing with it. And four, action, if moved, act to improve the situation. So, and basically the way this works is whenever you're challenged by something or you get emotions arise, it's a problem. No matter what it is, the very first thing we do is we become present and aware. You bring your faculties to the center and you prepare yourself for this, right? Where we're not thinking about other things. We're not distracted. There's a problem. We become present. And usually we do this by focusing on the breath. And then acceptance comes in. And, like it or not, we accept it for what it is. If you don't accept reality as it is, it makes it really hard to work with. Again, you don't have to like it, but it is reality that's happening. Number three, reasoning. So I see this as kind of a dialogue, and in which I'll look at the situation and I'll use some reasoning and and assess it to see to try to see it in the proper light, to bring some truth to it, and as well I'll look at my feelings and think about how to deal with it, and then lastly, action. If you feel moved, you can act. Sometimes acting is the wrong thing to do. Sometimes we need to be patient, but that's a decision that you make for yourself. And we've put together a fun acronym for everybody, which is PARA, presence, accepting, reasoning, and action, and which our wonderful friend Rinchen pointed out to us that it actually means stop in Spanish. So you can think about when facing challenges or strong emotion, remember to stop and apply the 4 steps of acceptance. And I'm going to give you some examples to help you understand that a little bit better. But before I do, I also want to address the fact that there are situations that it might not be applicable, like especially the idea of spontaneous action. So, in the case of danger or emergency, or let's leave it at that, danger or emergency, where you don't have time to think about these, you don't have time to become present, to do these things, you'll just act spontaneously to benefit others. And I was about to say, it also works with virtuous things, right? You can spontaneously, give your chair to somebody where you're not contemplating these. So the 4 steps of acceptance are applied where you deem them necessary. And also, in our last class that we offered this, somebody pointed out that rescuers are trained to do something very similar, that they know to stop and assess the situation before acting, and they do so so they don't become victims themselves, right? They don't rush right into the house. They first make sure it's safe for them to do so, or jump into a raging river to save someone. So there are those more extreme conditions that we have to keep in mind. So with that said, let's see what this looks like in actual practice. What do we have here? Okay, I'm going to put the slide back up again. So here's the scenario. You have been insulted and you are angry. Someone has told you that you're a bad driver. Oh, how dare they insinuate such a thing? And you're angry. You're trying not to let it show, and you're wondering what to do with these emotions. Guess what? You practice the 4 steps of acceptance. First thing you do is you become present, right? This centers us and brings awareness in. Sometimes we're angry and we're not in our right minds, right? We become present, we become centered. And then we apply acceptance. Like it or not, this, you were just insulted, nothing you can do about it. Now, these 2 first steps can often happen almost simultaneously, right? You always have to start with presence. Some people argue with me about the order of these, but hands down, you have to be present in the moment. That's you at your best. That's where you can think the best. And then acceptance can often be just a part of that, because when we become present, we're naturally accepting of the world in front of us. Then reasoning comes in. And guess what? The 4 steps of acceptance, you're already practicing. Almost all of us do this already. Think about it. Something happens. What's the first thing you do? You take a deep breath, right? Somebody irritates you. First thing you do, you take a deep breath, right? And then and say maybe afterwards, what do? You go into self-dialogue, right? You go into reasoning. You have a dialogue. So in this case, someone's insulted us. We've been told we're a bad driver. So the reasoning would sound something like, and we usually do this silently, though I remember my mother would do it aloud when I was a boy. But and you say, yes, you accept it. Yes, I've been insulted. But then you use reasoning and saying, being insulted is something that's been happening from the beginning of man. It's something that happens millions of times around the world every single day. So then you kind of look at it and you say, it really is a natural part of human behavior. It's not as extreme as I think it is. I'm not wounded nearly as bad as I think I've been insulted millions of times throughout my life. I've insulted millions of people throughout my life, and it's not going to change, right? So you kind of do a little assessing, and then you can look at your feelings and you say, I feel hurt. I feel insulted. I feel marginalized. Um, and that's okay. Those are fairly appropriate qualities most people feel in this situation. And then the best way to deal with it, if it's a random insult, the best thing might be to not do anything, just let it pass. But maybe say it's at the workplace and you're the boss and you're afraid that it's going to undermine your respect from other people. Well, then you might want to think about how to deal with that. You might want to talk to that person privately the next day, something like that. And then number four, of course, act if you think you can improve it, right? So that's a little bit of how we use it. In the text, I talked about how effective it was for me during the pandemic and how I used it. I thought what would be fun is to have you guys try going through this to see how it works. So I have some topics, and I'm looking for some brave souls to volunteer. Uh, Clint, are you volunteering? I think he
Of
is. Oh my
course.
goodness. Okay, Clint. With you can see the four steps on the screen. Your dilemma is you're feeling anxious about a deadline at work. That couldn't be true for you, could it? What do you do about it, Clint?
Yeah, I think first maybe I would do a three breath meditation just to calm and ground myself.
Oh, we're trying to see how will we would apply the four steps of acceptance.
Yeah, but that's how I would get presence, right?
Okay,
So
go ahead. You can elaborate, sure.
yeah, I would take a couple deep breaths and try to ground myself and um, get presence, as we're saying, right? Focus on the breath.
Okay.
Um, I might try to accept the situation that you know everyone's got deadlines. It's a super common thing. It's not a unique failure to me.
Now that's reasoning. We don't do
Okay.
that yet. Accepting
All right.
is almost just there's not a lot of mental activity. We're just accepting. So it really, as you can imagine, it really comes in with presence. Become
Yeah.
present and accept the situation.
I could see how the order of things gets tricky because I'd probably try to reason with myself in order to get to acceptance, right? That's
That's why we're
probably how we're
we're
doing.
we're gonna do it with students to make sure everybody knows how to do it properly.
Yeah, makes sense.
So you've accepted the situation. Now what?
Yeah. Now I suppose I would start my looking for data, looking for logic, looking for potential ways to de-risk the deadline or accomplish things I need to do for the deadline. And then if I found some good ways forward, I suppose I'd move to action and do them.
Excellent job. Now, with reasoning, what works for me, I tend to think about reasoning. I start with the biggest picture and then move, get smaller. So, like for this, I would start with the big picture and say, yes, I have a deadline. Everybody has deadlines. This has been going on for millions of years. It's not a big deal. I've had so many in the past, I'll have so many in the future. It's just a regular part of life. And then from there, I get smaller. And then I think about how I feel about the deadline. I'm feeling anxious. That's a normal way to feel with a deadline. And then look at how I can work with the deadline. Good job. Thank you for being our first guinea pig. Our second guinea pig that's about to volunteer is Garuda.
That's a
Garuda, you want to
surprise.
try one?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Your dilemma is you're feeling incompetent because you made a mistake. And I think this is a good one for you because I know you're a precise individual. You're a perfectionist.
Mm, yeah, that's
So,
true,
how
I
would
suppose,
you
yeah.
apply the 4 steps of acceptance?
Okay, so first of all, presence of work, immediately go to the breath, to bring myself to the present, and then accept the situation that this is not uncommon for me, and
It
just
is what it is, right?
it is what it is, yeah, yeah. And then try to reason as to why I'm feeling that way, that may be different to other situations, and
Before feelings, again, I would start with the bigger picture.
okay,
I like to start with the big picture. Like, yes, I made a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. It's a natural part of life. Start with that big picture that to
okay,
make a mistake is to be human. It's a
mhm,
normal part of human behavior.
okay,
Then
so that,
after that, I might dig into my feelings.
okay, and then if I can, and then look to correct the situation, um, if I can.
Excellent job. Oh, I think you did really good. Hey, I got another one. And our next volunteer is David. I
That's a surprise too.
used to ask for volunteers, and I thought, and some of them match people really well. Okay, David, your dilemma is you're feeling sick from eating too much ice cream.
That's too close to the bone.
How
Oh,
couldn't be you, chocolate bonbons. Um, how do you apply the 4 steps of acceptance to this situation?
well, they're really difficult. Yeah. Yeah. Um, well, presence first of all, and I'd sit down. I'd just sink into the presence, into the feeling um, of the presence. That would include, obviously, the sickness in my stomach. I just become really present with that. I spend probably quite a wee bit of time becoming present. And then uh, when I was really present with the feeling, uh, it would be acceptance, as the way you put it. But if I'm really present with the feeling, I think the acceptance kind of flows kind of naturally.
Very
Um,
much.
yeah. So that's, and once you accepted it, I must, um, yeah, putting it in, accepted it. When I accept it, it's kind of integrated into the feelings of my body.
Yeah.
If it's going well, it's just a feeling. It's just an energy. Um, but if I've got more to do, then reasoning, trying to put it into perspective of you know I do it before, everybody's done it before, the other things you've mentioned. Life is just full of ice cream, um, and people eating too much of it. Um, so I might even have a laugh at that stage, probably would. Um,
And you could think like reasonably you could say, this isn't anything new. I've eaten too much ice cream before. I know that this is gonna pass. And then you could think about I might feel lousy, but it'll pass. And then you could think about like what to do. There's nothing to do. It'll pass. I'll feel better.
I
So
was
all
going to,
that all that's in the ration.
yeah, I was going to say, for under I should probably eat more ice cream to take my mind off
that
it, but that's probably not really.
that wouldn't be skillful.
That would be a scope for
That wouldn't be skillful at all. And I have one last
Rula's got a
volunteer.
question, I think.
Miss Rula.
I just wanted to have a little bit of, to make it a bit more precise, the first step, presence. So I become present by focusing on my breath, okay, and body and senses. And then I become objective and non-reactive by separating feelings from observation. What do you mean by this?
So objective and objective distance are aspects of that presence, right? By being present, we kind of develop that objectivity. It means just putting a little space between you and the problem. As I talk about in the text, um, I think it was the meditation text. We often live our lives like our faces are smashed up against the glass of reality,
Yeah.
that everything is so close all the time. So when we become present, we can become just a little bit distance there, and that distance allows a space for wisdom and skill to be applied.
It does,
So whatever problem it is, by taking that breath, you're kind of naturally creating a little distance there between you and it.
but my question is that at this stage, I shouldn't think about it.
Um, I used to give a more detailed presentation, and I think that objectivity and objective distance are just natural aspects of presence.
Okay.
So here I'm trying to give a simple version because the other one was complex and people had trouble with it.
Okay.
So you in the text it goes into more detail, but I think right now we can concentrate on what's here.
Okay. Okay.
And with that said, you might not know it, but you volunteered for our next one.
Okay.
So Miss Rula, your dilemma is an interesting one. You're feeling bored. How do you use the 4 steps of acceptance?
Well, I try first to focus on my breath and 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 my body, and I would um I don't know how to become present with this, but I would accept it.
But usually just by focusing on your breath, you
Yeah,
automatically become present.
yeah,
Like in the exercise we shared a few minutes ago,
yeah.
it kind of
Okay.
happens. And
Yeah,
then the acceptance is, yeah,
yeah.
I'm bored.
I am bored.
You
Uh,
accept it.
yeah. And
And
then
then,
I have to try to reason why am I bored, which is a reality, by the way.
and not necessarily why you're bored, but just reasoning boredom, right? And
Yeah.
so, how do you do that? What does that dialogue sound like? In a sense, we're kind
Maybe
of in a sense we do a lot of bracketing at the beginning.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe because it is true, it does happen to me. Maybe I could say that it's like a bit, I have no real drive, except that learning about Buddhism presently. Uh, it's as if I have no goal a little bit. So I do
Cool.
things just to let time pass, not because I have,
Yeah.
and maybe I would think of something that would give a meaning to my life. But I have been doing this and not finding it.
Okay. So I think my dialogue would be like, I've accepted, okay,
Yes,
I'm bored. And I
many
say,
people
I
are.
kind of think about what is boredom. And I
Yeah.
would think that what's really happening is that I'm not appreciating that I have free time. I'm at
Okay.
odds with the idea of this free time. And
Yeah.
boredom is a natural part of life.
Yeah.
Everybody experiences it. Boredom can be a very creative space. Why don't I just breathe and I try to
Oh,
appreciate the moment the way it is? And then for action, I would think that's what I do. Oh, okay, I'm just going to breathe and try to appreciate the moment and appreciate that I have no work to do or anything else and see it as the gift that it is.
Oh, that's great,
So
really.
those are some ways to deal with it.
Yeah.
Dharma, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. Really enjoying the class, and this makes perfect sense to me. And it actually was applicable to something that happened to me last night. But my question is, I have a very short fuse at times. I have a very bad temper. And even though this is the way I should have dealt with it, all that flies right out the window when I get hit with the bad temper.
That's right.
How can I check that temper so that this becomes the default?
By calming yourself down, slowing yourself down. All the practices we share, especially meditation and mindfulness, are getting us to slow down and gradually become less reactionary by creating a little bit of space between that stimuli and your reaction. You create space for wisdom and skill. And the very first thing we're working with is presence. So uh, once when something happens and you react, there's nothing we can do, but you can cultivate an awareness of the space between the stimuli and the reaction. Now, at first, it seems impossible, but we all know here, experienced meditators, it becomes possible. Sometimes I don't have it. Most of the time I do. And that's why presence is always first, because presence is what creates that space for you to respond instead of react.
Thank you.
Miss Jan?
I was just wondering, I have a tendency to be kind of judgmental at times. Could this be used to work on that too? Like when I feel myself, but somebody does something and I start to think, oh, bad things about them. I could use this, like take presence and then accept that I'm feeling that way and then reason about it and then maybe change my mind. Could it be used that way?
I've found that it works for everything. I've yet to find anything that it didn't work with. I feel fear. I feel an emotion. I have a craving for food. Something big happens, something small happens. The smallest of problems or irritations, the largest of fiascos. It works for everything. And again, I'd like to remind everyone that basically we all do it already. You're just not aware of it and you're not doing it well. This four-part way of expressing it is the proper way of using this tool. And it's extraordinary. One of the hardest things for me as a teacher is getting people initially interested in it. People will hear it, they'll think it's cool. They really won't apply it. I got to get on people. And then once people get in the habit of applying it, then I get all these emails telling me it's the greatest practice. And so, yeah, that's tough. I have a couple hands. Francisco, do you want to share?
Yes, I wanted to share my experience. Today I was anxious. Anxious is like the emotion that bothers me the most for something I have to do tomorrow. And for example, I started up with acceptance. I didn't do the focus on the breath, but I think it would have been useful, very useful. And then with acceptance, I felt like in the big scheme of things, like, yes, this has happened before. I know my tendencies as well, and I know this is natural. And then I went and looked at how I feel, and it didn't help. But then reasoning and action were like where I felt better today in specific. Because then I went, okay, I feel like this. Maybe I can do something about it. And so I went out and got a sweet treat. But for example, the other day I got real bad news, and not horrible news, but they were bad news. And just presence and acceptance, like all of the time, many times focusing on the breath and accepting and knowing I can't do anything about it, it helped. So really, these 4 steps make a lot of sense to me.
Oh, that's wonderful. And that's a beautiful story. Thank you for, yeah, it's extraordinary how well this works, but you do have to give it a try. Oh, Mr. Garuda?
Yeah, it was just really to follow on from what Dharma was saying, basically, just purely from a neurological perspective. As you say, the more you do it, the more the brain literally physically changes. It actually creates those pathways to the right way, and you've just got to give it a
Neuroplasticity.
go, basically, and keep going, and it will change.
And Buddhism says the same. We're creatures of habit.
Yeah,
Karma teaches us that we can alter that momentum. And momentum is nothing more than habit. So you're
yeah,
exactly right.
yeah.
Hey, I got something else I want to share with everybody. I'm slowly running out of time. Oh, we have this. We have an affirmation for everybody to use during the week. The 4 steps of acceptance is a method for dealing with life's adversities, a practice aimed at accepting reality without embellishment or rejection, to fully accept life in both its joys and suffering, to transcend our endless resistance and struggle against reality, and our compulsion to control our experiences and the outcomes of events. The 4 steps of acceptance, and it lists them. We've already gone through that, right? Okay. We're running a little long, so I'm going to get to the final thoughts. So, today we learned that within Buddhism, the path of happiness, including awakening, nirvana, and enlightenment, is cultivated through the threefold path: the development of higher understanding, higher virtue, and higher awareness, which is embodied within our Skillful Living program. We also learn the 4 steps of acceptance, which is a method for dealing with adversities and challenges that arise. In this week's practice, we have we're going to be focusing on the threefold training. And remember, you've been practicing it already. You practiced it all last week. So we're just continuing that on. And so, in addition, but now I want you to be more mindful of the categories and what you're practicing and what they relate to. And then when difficulties arise, apply the 4 steps of acceptance. So, considering we've already been practicing the threefold training, I would say that the 4 steps of acceptance is our main practice this week. Remember, you don't have to wait for some big catastrophe to happen. The 4 steps works on all kinds of little minor things. You could be sitting all by yourself watching television, say a bad thought pops up in your mind. Put the 4 steps of acceptance in the practice, right? So you can use it and just play with it, practice it. Next week will be our third week and our fifth and sixth lessons, and we'll be continuing our study and practice of happiness by focusing on appreciation and the SBT practice of awakening through appreciation. This is everyone's favorite practice in the program and very beneficial. So always remember, I'm a click away for help and support. Please take advantage of our WhatsApp groups and share your thoughts and ideas and experiences on there. It really influences and inspires the other class members. And lastly, although the program is free, we do rely on donations. For the month of July, starting today, we're in our summer fundraiser, and every now and then we just have to reach out to everybody and try to get a little bit of help. As you know, every single thing we do is free and always will be free. When I started SBT, oh, everyone told me I couldn't do that. Everyone told me that I wouldn't be successful, I wouldn't survive. 6 years, we're still doing it. And but it does rely on the kindness of others. So if you think that SBT is doing some good work, if you think this is something that could really benefit others, please support us. So let's end today's teaching with our altruistic affirmation. May all be healthy. May all be prosperous. May all be well. May all be present, free of past regret and future worry. May all abide in constant appreciation, which is the source of great joy and contentment. May all realize their true nature and the true nature of reality, which is awakening. Thanks everybody for coming. Remember that SBT was created for one purpose and one purpose only, to support you, the practitioner. Bye-bye, friends.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much, Venerable
teacher.
Tarpa.
Thank you.